Okay, so this is ayahuasca night 2, and welcome back to my channel, my YouTube, my Instagram, my TikTok, etc. Okay, so I think in night 1 I kind of talked about all the things that obviously all the experiences I'd had, and night 2 of ayahuasca is actually not as deep, unfortunately, but I still wanted to go into what my day was like before going into the second ceremony. So basically, I had slept in the temple. I think I mentioned that I'd fallen asleep in the temple, or I didn't really sleep in the temple. Actually, I stayed awake all night in the temple because I couldn't sleep because I still felt very like awake with the medicine, and like in a sense I was looping a little bit, but in a nice way. And so that morning, every morning at the retreat, there's something called movement, which is sort of like this yoga style kind of movement, yogic, body movement. It's just to kind of get that energy circulating again. And then we go into breakfast, I think the next breakfast right after, and then we go into sharing circle. So every single day after a ceremony night, there's a sharing circle the next day. And so we go back to the temple where everything has been completely cleaned up, and it really beautifully, because it was like a mess the night before. I mean, as you can imagine, people throw up and all kinds of things, and it's really, really beautiful. And actually, I'm realizing before I go into that, I want to talk about, I had a meeting with a shaman that same day because I wasn't crazy about some of the messaging that I got in night 1, and it's so unfortunate that I can't go into so many details, only just because I want to protect people's privacy that I had asked questions about in night 1. But basically, I had sort of asked the medicine if I was gonna have children, or if like a family was right for me. And this was a very big theme for me at that time of my life, because I had done so much work on myself. I had done the dark night of the soul, or gone through the dark night of the soul, and done all that deep excavation work. And I really understood that you don't have to like create bad karma, like to have a family. Like karma is not the best word, but I really understood that like you don't have to pass on generational trauma, and that you can have a good relationship with a partner, and like raise kids in a way that is not damaging. That was like a fresh revelation to me at that time. Well, beforehand, I really understood that. And then after I really did a lot of that deep work, I was like, man, like it doesn't have to be that way. And so I was really excited to step into that sort of chapter of my life. Like I was really ready to be a mom, to be like to step into into that family life, especially around that time. And so I had asked the medicine lots of questions, and it was kind of like, I want to say ambiguous, but it was really kind of like they didn't clearly give me a clear yes, that like, yeah, go for that. This is what you're here to do. And at the same time, I actually felt like a lot of resistance, from the medicine. And I really wasn't happy or clear on any of that. And so I asked the shaman, I had a meeting with him, and I asked the shaman, what, what the hell is up with that? And he explained it again, because I haven't told you all of really what happens in night 1. He sort of explained it the best he could from the perspective of the medicine, like what she was trying to show me. And so it helps me to understand. But you know how the human mind is, like we just want the answers we want. We sometimes don't want to refuse to take the wisdom that we're being given, so that we can force an outcome for ourselves. And so anyway, it was a really beautiful, like enlightening conversation with him. And he was, we spoke in Spanish, and it was really great. And he was very like gentle and caring and thoughtful about, I guess, what I was going through. And it's so funny because I talk a lot about snake energy and kundalini and stuff, and I forgot to mention, I never mentioned it. I don't know if I didn't forget. I didn't mean to omit it, but I never mentioned to him all that snake energy stuff, like all that stuff about I am the snake coming down to earth, I am the snake, which would have made sense because to mention it to him. But because you know in indigenous culture, like the snake often means rebirth, right? It's the shedding of a skin. It's such a good omen, right? It's the shedding of a skin to become a new person. It's the shedding of an old skin to welcome in new things. It's just really like a sort of like a death and rebirth, or like a rebirth, a rebirthing of yourself. And so I don't know why I never mentioned it to him, but I didn't. And it's funny because when I had mentioned it to Dylan, one of the practitioners there, he's the one who told me that, like, that it means rebirth. And it's so odd, that I never mentioned it to him at the time. But anyway, something kept me from mentioning it to him. So anyway, so we have this conversation and I feel good enough. And then we go into sharing circle, which is done with like the 4 practitioners, or was it 2 practitioners? Yeah, 2 of the practitioners, Miriam and Dylan. And we're meant to really be sharing our insights, things that we learned, any downloads that we got, like, you know what I mean, like what we really learned from our nights in the ceremony. But I think a lot of us were kind of giving very deliberate, like play by plays, like exactly what happened in the medicine, um, instead of sharing sort of the insights and things that we were really meant to be sharing, and myself included. So we're back in the temple in this, in a circle, talking about experiences and everybody sharing their thing. And so when it comes to my turn, I kind of go into exactly what happened to me, which is that I saw myself come down to earth as the snake, right? La culebra. And that I chose to be a girl. Like I remember choosing to be a girl, coming down to earth, choosing to be a girl, being so excited. Like being a girl was like hitting the lottery. Like it was like, I like, you can't get any better than like being a girl on earth. Like it was so good. And that one of the things I was most excited for was music and dance. And I remember sharing that I was a bit disappointed that I was like, that I wasn't more alien, if that makes sense. Like that I wasn't more like, how do I put this? That I wasn't more like extraterrestrial, that I really felt tethered to this earth in a way. And that I don't know, like I thought I would be more alien than I was, and that I was really happy about Earth and like to be from Earth and to be a girl on Earth and all that sort of stuff. And so I kind of had this like experience of like, again, I wouldn't call it disappointment, but that I just thought I would be more alien. But really, I did share that the main things were that I chose to come to planet Earth, choosing to be a girl, and some of the other things I talked about in night one. And so a lot of people didn't quite have that exact same experience, of course. A lot of people were sharing more insights about their own personal development, their own personal family stuff, etc. And that was fine, and it was great. It was a great sharing experience, and I really appreciated sharing circle. And there's a lot of different things that happen in sharing circle, different perspectives and all kinds of different experiences. Everybody's experience in ayahuasca is so vastly different. It's wild. There's like 22 to 24, 25 of us. I can't remember how many there were of us, maybe 26. And it was like everybody's experience was so different. So anyway, so we finished that up, and then I think we had the rest of the day to ourselves, and I think I mentioned this in my last video that that we have breakfast in the mornings, then there's a lunch, but that there's no dinner because, just for medicine night, that we tend to, they tend to just like leave fruit out. So in case we find that we need something in our stomachs. And so we go into ceremony 2 that same evening, and it opens up much the same way that we did before. And the thing about it for me is that my intention this time is to get more clarity on what I was given in night 1. Like this is the intention for me. Like I'm gonna go in because I'm not, even though I kind of had that nice conversation with the shaman and everything, I'm not happy with what I got, and I'm gonna go and get more answers for myself. And so it's so funny. I don't know why my hair's flipping out like this. It doesn't matter, but it's kind of bugging me a bit. So anyway, so we go in, and the ceremony opens much the same way it did on the first night, except that this night we are open to choosing the quantity that we want to drink tonight, and there's a possibility of second dose, and there's a possibility of something called jape. And jape is sort of this herbal snuff, is the best way I can describe it. It's snorted. It's something that is administered by the shaman, and it literally, like, he shoots it up your nose, and it burns, baby. It stings so bad, but he shoots it up your nose, and it's meant to bring you right back to presence, especially if you're looping or if you can't catch yourself back up again, which is exactly what happens to me in night 2. But that's later on. So we basically start the evening in the ceremony with the shaman opens the ceremony. We start with a meditation. Again, this is around 7:30, 8 o'clock. The shaman opens the ceremony by saying some things in Quechua, and by, obviously doing a ritual, and then it calls us up one by one. And I think I do take a double dose, if I'm not mistaken. I take a double dose. So he calls us each up one by one, and we go and we go back to our respective beds, mattresses, and they shut the lights off, and we sort of wait for we give it an hour or so for the medicine to kind of awaken, and then the shaman starts by really awakening the medicine by beating the drum, much the way it happened um, in night one. So it's so funny because I'm trying to remember. I forgot to look through my night two notes, but I don't think there's. It's such an. I hate to call it uneventful, but it's not as eventful as the first night. So anyway, I'm pretty sure I remember everything. So the medicine starts for me the exact same way again. I come down as the snake down to earth. I'm like shoo, doo, 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 like, and I'm doing my little like doo, 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 like my little dance, right? Like a doon, 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 doon. And one of the things I think I forgot to mention in about night one, and it's possible I did mention it, but I think I'll mention it anyway in each ayahuasca video, is that the coming down as the snake has many different symbolisms, but I really want to talk about the Kundalini energy and what Kundalini means. And so I have a brief description of it, and then I have a description of how Sadhguru talks about snakes and mysticism and Kundalini. But here's what it says. So in Hinduism, the Kundalini, a coiled up snake, is a form of divine feminine energy believed to be located at the base of the spine in the Muladhara. It is an important concept in Shaiva Tantra, where it is believed to be a force or power associated with divine feminine, with the divine feminine or the formless aspect of the goddess. This energy is believed to lead to spiritual liberation, which is so common that you've heard of Kundalini awakenings, right? And then it says here, this is by Sadhguru, it says, mysticism and snakes cannot be separated. Whenever there was an exploration or an experience of mysticism in the ancient cultures of Crete, Egypt, Cambodia, Vietnam, and of course India, snakes were always there. And I would personally add indigenous cultures because snakes are very much there, like we talked about earlier. One aspect of it is symbolism, because in yoga, a coiled up snake symbolizes Kundalini. But the reason for this symbolic status is because when celestial beings, those who were in consciousness and capability superior to human nature, entered this dimension of existence, they always took the form of a snake. This finds mention in every mythology on the planet. And so doesn't that make sense that I like saw myself come down to earth as the snake? And I didn't know this at the time. I saw this like very shortly after I came back from ayahuasca, like within the week. I think I read this somewhere. So anyhow, so that's how my night starts. And you start to feel the medicine move into you and wake up in you. And she starts, like, for me it's like a slithering, like doon, 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 the way she makes her way through my body. And again, that similar experience of coming down to earth and being in the jungle, like being in my natural habitat, my natural state in the jungle, and moving around and being so happy to be like a snake on earth, like just being so happy to be on earth, back on earth. And as the snake, and la culebra, soy la culebra, soy la culebra, I am the snake, I am the snake, I am the snake, soy la culebra. And I go dun 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 dun, like I'm just so happy. And so, like I said, so she's moving her energy through me. And one of the things I wanted to say is that your body does move a lot on its own, like incredibly involuntarily, like it's just moving on its own. And it can be very arousing. Like it really is, like, everybody's experience is super different and everybody's night is super different, because you can go down some darker, holes or tunnels, if you will. But that's your consciousness as well, like being a very big part of that, whatever that darkness is that you need to work through. But for me, my experience is pretty like, first and second night, pretty light, intense, of course, but nothing dark like that. But also very arousing. Like it just is. There's no other way to say it. And you can hear other people in their arousal all around you. Everybody's going through their stuff. We're all laughing, talking to ourselves. And again, like, some people are crying and again, depending, and because the shaman and the practitioners are playing the music themselves and doing the singing and the dancing, or not the dancing, sorry, doing the singing and the playing of instruments themselves, they, with us, in tandem with us, work through the cadence of what we're going to be going through. So it's really incredibly beautiful. Like, it starts off with I would call it a high energy. It's not high energy like that. It's not like techno, but again, a higher energy. And then it goes through very soothing cadences, and then back up tempo a little bit more, and then soothing cadences again. And that's kind of what we go through. And so when the medicine starts to like work through me and we're like, okay, we're in night two, let's do it, I start to ask questions about the first night. And she's obviously very ready and willing to move on to more stuff, to new things. And I'm not really ready or willing to give those things up. And I keep wanting to get more clarity, get more information on the first night. So we kind of start off like in this sort of battle. Like we're not really, you know, getting to the place that she wants to take me to and where I really want to go. And so it kind of starts off that way. And I guess I didn't realize that somebody else explained this to me, that if your typical ayahuasca ceremonies are often 4 nights, and your first night, because you don't really know what to expect, you kind of like, you're surrendered, so you kind of have this great night, and then the second night you tend to like fight the medicine a bit because whatever, you want your own things to come through or to happen. And then night 3 tends to be your big night where you kind of release again because you're like, okay, I'm sorry. And then night 4 is, you know, you're closed. That's typically how the cadence goes. And that was very true for me all the way through. But in night 2, I'm kind of going back and forth with the medicine and fighting her on things. Don't mind me, oops, I have my masala chai here. It's so good. So anyway, so we're in already from the off. We're kind of like, she's taking me down this road and I'm like, I want to go back down this way. And she's like, no, we're going this way. And I'm like, we're going to go this way. And she's like, we're going this way. And I'm like, sorry, but we're going to go back this way. And it's just back and forth like that. And so finally, she pulls out the big guns. I mean, this goes on for a while, like into night 1. And at one point she pulls out the big guns, and this is very, like, it's a very arousing thing. Like, what I noticed is when she was trying to get my attention, and I think this happens for a lot of people, like she'll arouse you and try to bring you back to where she wants to take you, like where we're supposed to be going. And I'm like, and so finally at one point we're fighting back and forth, and there's this one moment where she shows me what I think to be is like my father, right? So I never met my dad. I never grew up with him, and I saw in night 1 that really wasn't the point. Like, that's not the purpose. Like, we know once you understand that you choose to come to earth and you choose your parents and you choose all the things and the aspects and the themes you choose to explore, that you're choosing to explore on earth. Like, once you have once you understand that and have that realization of every incarnation being very different and whatever thing you want to be working on, you also realize the players in your life who are very deliberate and those who aren't. And so I was shown that for myself, that, you know, not relevant, like he was not part of the picture in night 1, and that I saw that for my sister as well, because we didn't, you know, I think the last time I saw my stepfather was probably like, I was like 11, 12, 13 or something, maybe not even 13. Maybe I spoke with him the last time, I was like 13. Anyway, and that I had noticed that of all the female relationships in my life, like very few of them had their fathers. Like most of them, in fact, I would say all of them, all of the close like female relationships in my life, their fathers had either passed, they hadn't met them or had good relationships with them, or some, like, their fathers had like kind of left the situation like with them, like had, you know, I can't explain that, but basically they had like lost contact or something. So that was really fascinating that was a theme for me, and I really noticed it again in night 2. I noticed it in night 1, but I kind of came up in night 2. So anyway, so here's what I mean by when she wants to take over and she wants to show you what's gonna happen, like she takes over the situation, and this is exactly what happened. So at one point I'm realizing I'm fighting with her and we're not getting along. Like, we're clearly like butting heads here. Like, you know, I'm hitting the brakes and she's hitting the gas. You know, we're not going anywhere. And so at one point she stops, everything slows down, and she fully takes me over. And I remember being so insanely aroused. It's crazy. I don't want to get into that part. Like, that's TMI, but it's just like, I'm like, oh shit, like these are the big guns. And she's like, no, this is what we're doing. And as it happens, she shows me this black boy in a basket, like a giant basket. And he can't be more than 13 years old. Like, it's hard to explain this, but I'll do my best to paint a picture of it. So what I'm shown is this black boy who's, like I said, can't be more than 13. He's in a giant basket, like a woven basket, and he is passed out in the basket. Like, he's clearly unconscious. And as you kind of zoom out a little bit, like I can see that the boy in the basket appears to be like getting wet. Like, there's like spray, like water spray on him. And I think it appears to be ocean spray, because he looks like he's suspended over the ocean. And looks to me like maybe he's a slave boy, you know? That's what it looks like at first. That's what my mind puts together, because like it really does stop me. I stop fighting with her and I'm like focused on this boy. and he's suspended over the ocean. He's naked. You don't see anything, but because he's kind of turned over on his side a bit. He's naked. You see this like water being sprayed on him, like this ocean spray that I would call, and you can tell that the basket is suspended over the ocean. That's what it looks like. And then you can kind of see that it looks like it's next to a ship, right? And so you're like, and I remember thinking to myself at first, like, wait, is that my, like, I think if, at first I think, is that a slave boy? Like, cause that's the first thing I really starts to like kind of make sense, is this boy suspended over the ocean with water, who's unconscious, with water being sprayed on him. Like, he's alive, but like, what are they doing to him? And I thought, maybe are they lowering him into the, like into the water and pulling him back up, like, to torture him, or like, maybe he's rebellious, like whatever, like are they harming him that way? And then it occurs to me later, I'm like, oh, is that my father? Like, that's the first thing I like, that's the question I ask. And so the moment I ask that question, she starts to take me down this road again where she wants to take me. And I'm like, no, I want to know more about the boy, like take me back to the boy. And she's like, and again, it's hard to explain it, but it's like somebody who is like, you're driving the car and somebody is like steering the wheel for you almost. I can't, or maybe they're driving the car and you're the one trying to pull the wheel. I guess that's probably what it's like, more like she's driving the car and I'm like, take me back over here. And I keep trying to take control of the wheel, even though she's in the driver's seat. And basically we end up kind of going back and forth like that, up until they call for hape. And I can't remember if they called for second dose. If they did call for second dose, I don't remember if I took it. Oh my gosh, it's been too long. I want to say I did take second dose, but I don't remember. But I know I definitely took hape. And hape is so hard to do because they call you up to the front, they call up first for hape, they turn the little candle lights on again, the music stops and whatever, and we all get, like, anybody who wants to, you volunteer for it. And so I'm one of the early ones who gets hape, and the way that you do it, so the they've already explained what hape is, but the shaman is going to administer it to you, and then the practitioner is there kind of walking you through the ceremony and the steps of how it's going to happen. So it's basically they put the snuff in this little tool, and you're meant to breathe out of your mouth exclusively, hold your breath, and then he shoots it up your nose and it burns so bad, and you have to do both nostrils, and then you have to return to breathing back through in and out of your mouth because it burns if you breathe out of your nose again. And you can't like shoot, you have to have your head somewhat erect. You can't shoot too far back because if you go too far back, it starts to drip down your throat in a very uncomfortable way and burns a little bit. But that's basically what happens. And so some people do it and they're like not it's not good, it's not a good situation for them. It's kind of intimidating to watch because you watch people kind of struggle with it because it burns. Like, it's like taking, I want to say it's like taking pepper right up the nose, but it's probably more like taking like something, habaneros, like right up the nose. It's really, really intense. It doesn't last too long, which is the good part. But anyway, so you go up, you kneel down and he packs it and whatever, and she says whatever the things that she needs to say, or she tells you like exactly what's going to happen, and then he says something, sorry, then the shaman I think says a few words, I believe in Quechua, and then they shoot it up your nose, each one and like each nostril than the other, and it's so brutal. But the truth about it is that it really does bring you back to a centered moment. You're suddenly back like in your body again. It's hard to explain because you're so far into into other dimensions. I don't know, you're just like, you can be so far outside of yourself when you're working with the medicine that it really does like shoot you back in, and all the versions of yourself that are wandering go and they like come right back to the moment. And so you kind of sit back in, and then I remember sitting down. You kind of have to sit. I mean, is this too informative? I don't know if this is too informative because night 2 isn't very deep. Like, so this is why I thought I would just like share more about what the experience was. Anyway, so you sit back down, you sit back on your mattress. So you're meant to sort of just stay erect and let it, and then or I think it's actually forward, because then it starts to like, your nose starts to run like crazy. And so you can sit with your bucket and like let the mucus kind of like come out. But it really was very centering in the sense that like it brought you, like I said, right back to your body. And so hape is over, and then we kind of go back into ceremony, and I think that's sort of like the rest of my night. Like, nothing incredibly eventful. We just kind of go back and forth over and over again on the same stuff until it's over, until like the call for the ceremony to end. And yeah, that's basically it. So like I said, I mean, this is a long video for like not a very deep night, but it was, again, just to explain what the day was like, what the days were like, and then um, what they open up to. So again, a second dose and more medicine and more escape. And I can't remember if I took the second dose for some reason. I don't remember why I don't remember, but I don't know why I don't remember, but I don't. And I think that's it. I fought the medicine the rest of the night. They closed the ceremony. I think that night I actually do go back to my bed to sleep in bed. I think I need a shower as well or something. Maybe I just go straight to bed. But I also don't sleep that well again. Like I don't know what it is about these nights, but I cannot get a good night's sleep. So I don't end up sleeping basically at all again. And then there's the next morning, there's movement again, and we go into Wednesday, which is the Chuya Chaka. And the Chuya Chaka, because I think I'll just finish this with that, is actually a sweat lodge. So where we have a break. This is the break day, and so we get dinner that night, and then we also do a sweat lodge thing where there's singing and ceremony within the sweat lodge that they've built, and I freaking love it because I love the heat. Again, I'm a snake baby, so I love the heat, and I'm like in my element in the Chuya Chaka, and it's all like it's sweating, and at one point it starts to rain, like really, really like starts to pour down, and so like you're in this hot, sweaty lodge with all this water like dripping down on you. It's pretty cool. And then when we finish the Chuyachaka, we're all welcome to like go to the ocean. And I stayed in there a little longer because I just liked the heat, because I knew it was gonna be kind of chilly once like you walked out. And then we kind of got to cleanse and go to the ocean, and then and I think we broke for dinner. So anyway, that's night 2. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm gonna be sharing night 3 fairly soon. I'll probably break that up into a few different videos just because it is such a deep night, and it's like what like changes a lot of things for me. But again, if you are interested in following me on Instagram or TikTok, it's the same name, La Vida Flaneuse. And yeah, feel free to follow along for more videos, because it does start to get, the plant medicine is only like the beginning. It's kind of like the catalyst that kind of like gets me started into some of the other experiences that I have. So anyway, all this just to say, thank you for listening, and I hope you like this and keep following along.